All right, we're rolling. This is Fun with Flags, episode number 7. Lucky 7. So we're going to get out of Colorado. We're going to go to Pennsylvania this week. The East Broadtop Railroad is a narrow gauge railroad in Pennsylvania that started in 1871 and ran until 1956. It ran, and then it was primarily a narrow gauge coal hauling railroad. Most of its rolling stock, not all, but most of its rolling stock were coal hoppers. They had boxcars and flats and that type of thing, passenger caboose, several steam engines, but they decided that they were going to go ahead and shut down because they couldn't make any money. The industry that the railroad was hauling coal to essentially converted to gasoline and natural gas and alternate forms of energy other than coal. So the railroad lost basically its primary source of revenue because it was a coal hauling railroad. So they shut down. A couple years went by. There was some towns in the area that had some anniversaries that went through, and they asked if they could include the railroad as part of their celebrations. The railroad was sold to a owner who had a scrap company. He decided he wasn't going to immediately tear up all the tracks and cut up all the engines and basically scrap the railroad. He said, yeah, you can go ahead and add us to the celebration, and he went even further and said, I'm going to go ahead and get a few miles of track going, we'll get some engines going, some cars, so we can do some passenger rides for the celebration in the area. So that was great. It was such a success that they decided they were going to turn this railroad into a tourist attraction, and it was going to become a tourist railroad, a lot like the railroads that we've already discussed, the Durango and Silverton, and the Cumbres and Toltec railroads, the narrow gauge 3-foot railroads that are in Colorado. So years went by. It was a successful railroad for many years, and then I'm not really sure why they stopped running railroad excursion trains. Maybe the tourist business fell off, probably. I don't know. Maybe the upkeep. Anyway, long story short, up until a few years ago, this railroad was still running. And since then, the family who owns the railroad, they are looking to sell the railroad, and they don't want to piecemeal it out because this is a unique railroad. It existed basically intact from when it was shut down in the 50s. So they have 6 of their steam engines in existence, all at the same location in the roundhouse. They have a roundhouse, they have a turntable, they have passenger equipment, they have lots of outbuildings around that roundhouse, several stations up and down the line. There's a couple of tunnels. There's a lot of stuff along the right-of-way, bridges. So there's a lot there. It's not a very big railroad. It's 33 miles of main line, so it's not very large. It's 60 or so miles of track that exists if you count all the branch lines and everything other than the point-to-point endpoints on the railroad. So anyway, it's a bargain at any price. If you're watching this video and it's something you want to pick up because you don't own a railroad, there you go. Go talk to the family in Pennsylvania. The thing that's unique about this railroad is it has an active support group. The Friends of the East Broadtop the organization does a lot of restoration work. Now, think about this. The railroad hasn't run for several years, and they're still doing restoration work for the family that owns the railroad. So they own it. This other group wants to continue to restore the equipment, obviously hoping that it runs again someday. But that really says something to the volunteer effort that's in that part of Pennsylvania. It doesn't even run, and they want to restore it. So put some money together, go by the railroad. Because the folks out there are obviously, you know, very interested in getting that thing up and running. The Friends of the East Broadtop, their website is www.febt.org. Friends of East Broadtop. Okay, pretty easy to remember. The owners, as far as I can tell, the East Broadtop doesn't have a page on the web, but they do have a Facebook page, and it looks like it gets pretty current updates. So that's www.facebook.com/EBTRR. So hit that Facebook page, and you'll see, current updates of what they're working on. It's not the only thing that sits in that part of Pennsylvania. Right across the street from the East Broadtop is a trolley it's a Rock Hill Trolley Museum, pardon me while I look this up, is across the street, and it's in Rock Hill Furnace. So there's a trolley museum that's right across the street. So you can't go and take tours and rides and stuff, but maybe someday you can. But there is a trolley museum right across the street. So there's another good selling point. Hopefully some people who want to make some investment then buy a narrow gauge railroad from the 50s that is intact, all the equipment's there, and you can turn it back online. I'm sure you're going to have to do some restoration work and some maintenance and that type of thing. Make sure that things like boilers are inspected and all that. But that's a good deal. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at a few of the pictures of the infrastructure that we got. So let's do that next, and then we will wrap this up as soon as that's done. All right, getting started with Mount Union, Pennsylvania. This is a coal dock that was previously a production facility for the railroad. You can see there's a coal hopper sitting up on top of the track there. One of the passenger stations is pretty well restored and maintained. This is the passenger station at Orbisonia. Orbisonia has a steam engine, number 12, passing in front of it and getting ready to cross the road. The next station is actually Robertsdale, and I believe this was privately funded as a restoration project, so it looks in good shape, unlike Saltillo or Saltillo. In Colorado we'd say Saltillo, so I'm not sure how to pronounce this. It's probably Saltillo though. The next location we have is Rock Hill Furnace, where a lot of the rest of these pictures are going to take place. That's the depot. This is number 12, moving out from Rock Hill Furnace. Number 12 is one of the 4 steam engines that I have photos of. This is number 14 in the roundhouse. Cannot have enough roundhouse photos for me. I just love the effect that they have and the focus of all the steam activity. This is the tender of that same engine, number 14, sticking out the roundhouse door. This is number 15. He's about to move across the turntable. Number 17 is next, also out in front of the roundhouse is the turntable with number 17 on it. So Lots of activity in a roundhouse area. Like I said, I just love them. I don't know what it is about a roundhouse, but you know, obviously a lot of steam activity, and this one's in pretty good shape considering how old it is, and how much equipment is passed in and out of it. The turntable and the ash pit. Ash pit was used to collect ash out of the boiler. So some of the right of way that is still there is a couple of tunnels. I don't know what the condition of the tunnels are like, but I would imagine they probably need to be shored up. So, understatement of the week would be those tunnels might need to be shored up. I'm not going in them, and I probably wouldn't want to go in them in a rail car unless they were had some substantial work done to them and testing, but they look like they were just pretty much hacked out of the hillside. And so anyway, hope you enjoyed those pictures. So let's talk about the, now that we've talked about prototype, let's talk about the model side, because we talked about that we're going to do these videos as prototype and modeling. And I tend to get really focused on one or the other. So for this, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the East Broad Top equipment that is out there that you can find for modeling. So ready to run engines, unless you find something out there for brass, you're probably not going to really find anything. If you're looking for rolling stock, same thing's true. If you're looking at HO, you might have a little bit better chance. Some of the other scales, probably even less so. I know there's a number of kits out there that you can build some kits for the East Broad Top stuff, but you're going to spend a lot of time working on kits, which not a bad thing, but just be aware of what you're getting into. When it comes to not just the kits, but the roundhouse stations and things like that, you may find a few. I haven't really searched, but I know that based on just the equipment that I've been able to locate, I'm not sure that you're gonna find a lot of ready-made kits or anything like that. Kit bashing, that's an option. Scratch building, always an option. So one of the other things about the area is you could expand into trolleys, and there is the Rock Hill Trolley Museum right near the Rock Hill Furnace Station and that area where all the roundhouse and everything else is. So you could branch into that area and you're going to be able to find trolleys. That would be something that you could include. I even saw some pictures of some of the Rock Hill Trolley Museum tracks, and I saw that some of them were dual gauged. So I'm not really sure what's up with that, but if that's the case, and the trolleys, I'm not sure, but I assume they're probably standard gauge, and you could use dual gauge track and then include that with your layout and do, you know, narrow gauge, East Broad Top, standard gauge trolleys, and then just kind of move in that direction. That would be kind of interesting, and it would add another aspect to the narrow gauge that you're not going to find in definitely the stuff that we've already talked about for Colorado. So it is an option, but those pictures should kind of give you an idea of what you would start looking at as far as modeling buildings and things like that. So lots of cool pictures. Hope you enjoyed them. All right. So you want to check out those photos, and you don't have to pause and keep going, or it went by too fast or too slow or whatever. I have a ton of photos that I've put up, over 200 at this point, on the Fine Art America website. So go to the www.modelrailroadartist.com, and there is a link at the top of that will take you to the Fine Art America site. There's also a link at the top of that will take you to the YouTube channel if you don't happen to be a subscriber, and you really should. Also, it should be your homepage. Just saying. So If you're interested in some more of those photos, you want to look at some of the back issues of the videos that we've done, there you go. Don't forget, we'll be on next week, episode 8. I haven't decided what we're going to do, but I'm sure it's going to be something that is going to be very interesting, and you won't want to miss it. Thank you for coming online and checking out the video this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week.